I'm Sarah Thompson, 28 years old, and what I'm about to share will make you question everything you believe about family loyalty. 6 months ago, my parents threw my sister and her newborn twins out into a raging storm, all because she got divorced. They saw her failed marriage as an unforgivable disgrace, a stain on our family's perfect Christian reputation. When I found out they'd literally slammed the door in her face while she stood there holding two crying infants in the pouring rain, I drove 3 hours through that same storm to rescue them. But what I discovered when I arrived made even me tremble with rage. The twins were burning with fever, my sister was delirious from exhaustion, and they'd been living in her car for 3 days because our parents had called every relative, warning them not to take her in. Before I reveal how I exposed my parents' cruelty at my mother's 60th birthday party in front of their entire church congregation, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story truly resonates with you. I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is there. This is how I learned that sometimes the youngest failure in the family holds the most power. Growing up as the youngest Thompson child meant living in the shadows of my successful siblings. My brother Michael, at 38, was everything my parents dreamed of: a law firm director with a trophy wife, a McMansion, and the ability to quote scripture while crushing opponents in court. My sister Emily, 4 years older than me at 32, used to be their golden child too. She'd married her college sweetheart at 22, gave them twin granddaughters, and played the perfect pastor's daughter at every church function. Then there was me, single at 28, working as an IT specialist at a tech startup, living in a one-bedroom apartment with a cat named Debug. Every Sunday dinner was the same painful ritual. Mom would sigh dramatically and ask, "Sarah, when are you going to settle down? Even Emily managed to give us grandchildren by your age." Dad would grunt his agreement while Michael smirked over his wine glass. "You know," Mom said at last month's dinner, "Mrs. Peterson's son just got divorced. He's a dentist, very stable. I could arrange—" "Mom, I'm happy with my life," I'd say for the 100th time. "Happy doesn't give me more grandchildren, Sarah." The irony was suffocating. While they criticized my failure to marry, Emily was hiding a devastating secret. She'd been calling me at midnight for months, sobbing quietly so her twins wouldn't wake. Her perfect husband had been cheating since she was 6 months pregnant. She'd finally filed for divorce 2 weeks after giving birth, but she was terrified to tell our parents. "Please don't tell them yet," she'd begged me just last week. "I need time to figure out how to explain without them losing it." I promised to keep her secret. I had no idea how catastrophically they would lose it when they found out. The truth about Emily's marriage was uglier than even I knew. She'd discovered her husband Mark with his secretary when she'd made a surprise visit to his office, 8 months pregnant with the twins. The woman was sitting on his desk, and they weren't discussing quarterly reports. "I tried to forgive him," Emily told me through tears one night. "For the babies. But he brought her to our house while I was in the hospital giving birth. Our neighbor saw them. The divorce papers were filed quietly. Emily got full custody. Mark didn't even fight it. He'd already moved in with his secretary and wanted a fresh start. He signed away his parental rights in exchange for reduced child support. Emily was devastated but relieved. She could rebuild without him. For 3 months, she managed to hide it all. She'd skip family dinners claiming the twins were sick. When Mom demanded photos, Emily would send old ones. She was buying time, saving money, planning her announcement carefully. "I'll tell them after Mom's birthday," she promised herself. "Just get through the party, then explain everything calmly." But secrets have a way of exploding at the worst possible moment. Our Aunt Martha, Mom's gossipy older sister, ran into Mark at a bar downtown, with his new girlfriend, wearing his wedding ring on a chain around her neck like a trophy. Martha called Mom immediately. The storm that hit our family that night was worse than the actual thunderstorm raging outside. Mom called Emily at 11 p.m., screaming so loud I could hear her through Emily's phone from across her apartment. "You're divorced? Divorced! How dare you hide this disgrace from us?" Emily tried to explain about the cheating, about protecting the twins, but Mom wasn't listening. That's when Dad got on the phone and everything went to hell. I'll never forget the venom in Dad's voice when he took the phone from Mom. I was at Emily's apartment, holding one of the twins while she talked, and I could hear every word through the speaker. "You are dead to us," he said, each word dropping like ice. "No daughter of mine gets divorced. You made vows before God." "Dad, he cheated. He abandoned us," Emily sobbed. "Then you should have tried harder to keep him satisfied. A good wife." "Are you seriously blaming me?" Emily's voice cracked. That's when Michael joined the call. Mom must have conferenced him in. His voice was cold, calculated, exactly like when he demolished witnesses in court. "Emily, you've destroyed our family's reputation. Do you know what this looks like? The Thompson family doesn't do divorce." "Michael, please." "I have connections at Child Protective Services," he interrupted. "If you make this messy, if you embarrass us further, I'll make sure those twins end up in proper homes. Stable homes." My hands shook as I quietly started recording on my phone. Something told me I'd need evidence of this conversation. "You wouldn't dare," Emily whispered. "Try me. You're an unemployed single mother living off savings. I'm a successful attorney with a perfect family record. Who do you think the court will believe?" Mom's voice returned, shrill and final. "You have 1 hour to pack your things and leave. Don't come back until you fix this mess." "Mom, it's storming. The twins are only 6 months." The line went dead. Emily collapsed against me sobbing. Outside, lightning split the sky as rain hammered the windows. Within minutes, her phone buzzed with texts from various relatives. "Your mother called. You're not welcome here." They'd called everyone. In less than 10 minutes, they'd turned our entire extended family against her. My phone started buzzing before Emily even finished packing. Mom's first text was a warning shot. "Sarah, don't you dare take her side. Your father and I are unanimous on this." Then came Michael's message. "Smart girls stay quiet. Remember, Dad plays golf with your CEO every Saturday." They weren't making empty threats. My father had connections throughout the city. 20 years of military service, followed by 15 years in defense contracting, had given him influence everywhere. My job at the startup? Dad had introduced me to the founder. My apartment? The landlord was his former squadron buddy. If I helped Emily, I'd lose everything. I looked at my sister frantically shoving diapers into a bag while her twins wailed in their carriers. She'd already lost her husband, her home stability, and now her entire family. The rain outside was getting worse. The weather alert on my phone showed flash flood warnings. "Where will you go?" I asked. I don't know. Maybe a motel?" "With what money?" "Mark cleaned out your joint account, remember?" She stopped packing, reality hitting her. "My credit cards are maxed from the lawyer fees." Another text from Mom. "Your sister made her choice. Don't make the same mistake." I thought about my comfortable life, my stable job, my nice apartment, the promotion I was up for next month. All of it could disappear with one phone call from Dad. Then I looked at those babies, my nieces, their little faces red from crying, and something inside me snapped. Family isn't about blood, it's about who shows up when the storm hits. "Pack everything important," I told Emily. "We're going to my place." "Sarah, no, you'll lose. Let me worry about that." I grabbed my phone and typed back to Mom. "I need time to think. Give me a few days." I just bought myself some time, but I knew this was far from over. The 3-hour drive to Emily's apartment had been treacherous, but nothing prepared me for what I found. She'd texted that she was in the Walmart parking lot off Highway 50. When I finally spotted her car through the rain, my heart shattered. Emily was in the back seat, both twins pressed against her chest, using her body heat to keep them warm. The windows were fogged, and she was singing softly, the same lullaby Mom used to sing to us. The irony made me sick. When I knocked on the window, Emily looked up with hollow eyes. "They have fevers," she whispered. "Both of them. But the emergency room needs insurance cards, and Mark removed us from his policy last month." I felt for little Lily's forehead. burning hot. Luna was barely crying anymore, just whimpering weakly. Emily's own face was flushed, her clothes soaked from when she'd had to run to the car in the rain. "How long have you been here? 2 hours? 3? I didn't know where else to go." I pulled out my phone and started recording. Not Emily. I'd never exploit her pain. But the scene, the timestamp, the storm, the parking lot. 2 sick infants abandoned by their grandparents who lived in a 6-bedroom house 10 minutes away. "We're going to the ER. Now. I'll handle the insurance." As I helped Emily transfer the twins to my car, she kept apologizing. "I'm so sorry. You shouldn't have to." "Stop. Just stop." We drove in silence, except for the twins' labored breathing. At every red light, I looked back at them, these innocent babies punished for their mother's sin of escaping an abusive marriage. I thought about Mom's Facebook posts, all those photos of her blessed grandchildren she shared just last week. My phone buzzed. "Michael, Mom says you haven't responded. Don't be stupid, Sarah." I turned my phone off completely. Some bridges were meant to burn. The twins were stable after IV fluids and fever reducers. While Emily dozed in the hospital chair, I stepped into the hallway to face the 23 missed calls on my phone. I called Mom back. "Finally," she snapped. "Where are you?" "The hospital." The twins were severely dehydrated with 103-degree fevers. Silence. Then, "That's not your concern." "Not my concern. They're my nieces. They're the product of a failed marriage. Emily needs to learn." "What? That divorce means letting babies suffer?" Dad's voice came on speaker. "You're being dramatic. We gave Emily a choice. Come home if she fixes her marriage or handle things herself." "You can't fix a serial cheater, Dad." "Watch your tone. You have 48 hours to decide where your loyalty lies, Emily and those children, or your family." "Emily is family." "Not anymore. Choose wisely, Sarah. Your brother tells me you're up for senior developer. Would be a shame if your CEO heard about your poor judgment." Michael's voice joined in, smooth as silk. "It's simple math, Sarah. Help Emily and lose everything, or be smart and keep your life intact." "That's blackmail." "It's reality. I've already drafted a custody petition. Unemployed, homeless, mentally unstable from the divorce, Emily won't stand a chance." "You're monsters." "We're protecting the Thompson name," Mom said, "something you clearly don't value." 48 hours, Dad repeated. "After that, if you're still harboring her, you're out too. No job, no apartment, no family. Think about that." They hung up. I stood in that sterile hallway, fluorescent lights humming overhead, and made a decision. But first, I needed help. I scrolled through my contacts and found her. Jessica Martinez, my law school friend who'd specialized in family law. "Jess, I need your help, and bring your recording equipment." Jessica arrived at my apartment at 7 a.m. sharp, legal pad in hand and fire in her eyes. "Play me everything," she said. I showed her the recordings. Dad's threats, Michael's custody intimidation, the video of Emily in the parking lot with the sick twins. Jessica's expression darkened with each piece of evidence. "Your brother's an idiot," she said finally. "Threatening custody while admitting to blackmail? That's coercion, potentially criminal. Can we stop him?" "Better. We can destroy him." She pulled out her laptop. "Michael Thompson, right? With Brennan and Associates?" She typed rapidly, then turned the screen toward me. "Your perfect brother has a sealed complaint from 2 years ago, sexual harassment. The firm paid $200,000 to make it go away." "How did you—" "I know the paralegal who processed it. She kept copies. Your brother cornered an intern at the Christmas party. When she reported it, he tried to get her fired. Sound familiar?" My stomach turned. The pattern was clear. Michael used his power to crush anyone who challenged him. "There's more," Jessica continued. "That custody threat? I can file emergency guardianship papers for you today. As their aunt, with proof of abandonment and these threats, you'd get temporary custody immediately." "But my job, my apartment." "Document everything. If they follow through, that's workplace retaliation and housing discrimination. We'll own them in court. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. A neighbor from my parents' street. Saw what happened that night. Have security footage of them turning Emily away in the storm. Let me know if you need it. Jessica smiled. Perfect. Now when's the next family gathering? I checked Mom's Facebook. Her 60th birthday party, this Saturday, 30 guests invited. Public enough, can you hold out until then? I thought about Emily sleeping on my couch, the twins finally peaceful in their travel cribs. I'll make it work. The invitation arrived by courier Wednesday morning, cream cardstock with gold embossing. Margaret Thompson's 60th birthday celebration, the grand ballroom at Chateau Étoile. Black tie requested. Emily saw it first. She still sent you an invitation? It's a power play, I said, reading the handwritten note inside. Sarah, we trust you'll make the right decision by Saturday. Love, Mom. My phone rang. Michael. Got the invitation? He asked without preamble. Just arrived. Good. Mom wants you there, alone. It's your chance to show where you stand. And if Emily's name comes up? You tell everyone she's traveling, finding herself, whatever sounds better than divorced. Lying to 30 people? Protecting the family image? Dad's boss will be there, Pastor Williams, the entire church board. This party matters, Sarah. I understand perfectly. Do you? Because Mom's already told everyone you're bringing someone special. She's hoping you'll announce some good news. Don't disappoint her. After he hung up, Jessica called. I found something interesting. Your mom's birthday party? The restaurant has a presentation system for slideshows, Bluetooth enabled. And? Just saying. Would be a shame if someone accidentally connected to it. Emily looked up from feeding Luna. Sarah, you can't be thinking. They want me to choose? Fine, I choose. I texted Mom. I'll be there. And yes, I have news to share. Her response was immediate. Wonderful! I knew you'd come to your senses. Thursday, I got everything ready. The recordings were edited, the videos compiled. Jessica prepared the legal documents. The neighbor's security footage was crystal clear, timestamp visible, my parents literally pushing Emily away as she held both carriers. Friday night, I stood in front of my closet, choosing my outfit carefully. Professional. Respectable. The last thing they'd expect from the family disappointment. Emily watched nervously. You're really doing this? They wanted a public declaration of loyalty. They're going to get one. If you've ever had to choose between family and doing what's right, please leave a comment below. I want to know, how did you handle it? And if this story is resonating with you, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Because what happened at that birthday party changed everything for our entire family. The truth has a way of coming out, especially when you least expect it. Friday afternoon, Jessica called with urgency in her voice. Sarah, you need to see this. We met at a coffee shop downtown. She slid a folder across the table, her expression grim. Remember that harassment complaint against Michael? I dug deeper. Inside were email printouts, bank records, and a sworn affidavit. My stomach churned as I read. The intern, Melissa Smith, hadn't just been harassed. Michael had offered her $50,000 to sign an NDA and disappear. When she refused, he'd threatened to destroy her career. Look at this email, Jessica pointed. He wrote, Nobody crosses a Thompson and wins. Ask my sister Emily. This is from last year. Emily wasn't even divorced then. No, but she'd confided in Michael about Mark's cheating. Want to guess what he told her? I already knew. To keep quiet and endure it. Bingo! He literally wrote, Divorce would humiliate the family. Better to suffer in silence than bring shame on the Thompson name. The pattern was clear. Michael had been controlling, threatening, and silencing women for years, and my parents enabled him. There's more, Jessica continued. Your parents' house? I pulled the property records. There's a security system with cloud storage. Every camera feeds to an app on your dad's phone. So? So he has footage of that night, of them turning Emily away. He kept it as insurance, probably to prove she left voluntarily if anyone asked. My mind raced. Can we get it? Not legally, but… She smiled. If someone were to say cast his phone to a screen during a presentation and that phone happened to have the security app open, I thought about the restaurant's AV system, the Bluetooth connection, the 30 witnesses. The neighbor's footage shows the outside, but Dad's would show him actually pushing her. Exactly. The smoking gun is in his pocket. Saturday morning came too quickly. I sat with Jessica in my living room, laptops open, organizing our digital arsenal. Every piece of evidence was lined up like bullets in a chamber. The neighbor sent the footage, I said, watching the grainy but clear video. There were my parents at their front door, Emily pleading with 2 baby carriers in the pouring rain. The timestamp glowed, 11:47 p.m. Dad's hand physically pushing Emily backward. Mom slamming the door. Jessica had compiled Michael's greatest hits into a single devastating file. The harassment complaint, the hush money transfers, the threatening emails. But the crown jewel was a recording she'd obtained from Melissa Smith herself. Your brother offered me cash to vanish, Melissa's voice said clearly. When I refused, he said he'd make sure I never worked in law again. He said his family destroys anyone who crosses them. Emily walked in with the twins, saw our screens, and paled. Sarah, this could ruin them. They ruin themselves. But total destruction? Mom and Dad are just old-fashioned. They left your babies to potentially die in a storm, Em. She fell silent. I'd made copies of everything on 3 flash drives, uploaded backups to the cloud, and sent secured files to Jessica's office. If they tried to stop me, it would already be too late. Jessica pulled up the restaurant's website. The Chateau Étoile has a 90-inch LED screen in their main ballroom. State-of-the-art wireless presentation system. And I'll have remote access from my phone? Already tested it. The manager thinks you're uploading a birthday slideshow. Which technically you are. Just not the kind your mom expects. I looked at the time, 2 p.m. The party started at 6. Ready? Jessica asked. I thought about 28 years of being dismissed, overlooked, deemed a disappointment. I've been ready my whole life. The Chateau Étoile was exactly what Mom wanted. Opulent, impressive, designed to intimidate. 30 guests were already mingling when I arrived, champagne flutes catching the light from the crystal chandeliers. Mom floated toward me in a designer gown that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Sarah, you came alone, good girl. Wouldn't miss it, Mom. She air-kissed my cheek, whispering, Several eligible men here tonight. Dr. Patterson's son just made partner at his firm. Dad approached, his military bearing still intact at 65. Made the right choice, I see. I always do. Michael held court near the bar, regaling Pastor Williams with some courtroom victory. His wife hung on his arm like an accessory, smile frozen in place. I wondered if she knew about Melissa Smith. Sarah, Aunt Martha bustled over. Where's Emily? I was so hoping to see the twins. Mom's smile tightened. Emily's taking some personal time. You know how new mothers can be, overwhelmed. Oh, but I heard she was traveling, Mom cut in sharply, finding herself. The room was perfect for what was coming. The LED screen dominated one wall, currently displaying a slideshow of family photos, all carefully curated to show our perfect Thompson family. Emily featured prominently in the older photos, always smiling, always playing her part. The irony wasn't lost on me. Right now, Emily was at my apartment, feeding the twins formula bought with my credit card because she couldn't afford groceries. Ladies and gentlemen, Dad called out, tapping his champagne glass. Thank you for joining us to celebrate Margaret's milestone birthday. The crowd gathered closer. Pastor Williams raised his glass. To the Thompson family, A true example of Christian values and family unity. Everyone chorused agreement. I pulled out my phone, checking the connection to the screen. Ready. Before we continue, Dad said, I believe Sarah has something to share. The room turned toward me expectantly. Mom beamed, clearly anticipating an engagement announcement. Go ahead, sweetheart, share your news. I stepped forward, phone in hand. Actually, I'd like to address something Aunt Martha mentioned first. Mom's smile flickered. That's not necessary. Where is Emily? Aunt Martha pressed. It's strange she'd miss her mother's 60th. As I said, she's traveling, Mom replied firmly. Divorced women don't travel, Michael interjected smoothly. They hide. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Mom shot him a furious look. He'd broken script. Pastor Williams frowned. Divorced? But Emily seemed so happy. Happiness is fleeting when you break sacred vows, Dad said, recovering quickly. We're helping her through this difficult time. Helping? I couldn't stop myself. Is that what you call it? Sarah, Mom warned. No, I'm curious, Mrs. Patterson said, Dad's boss's wife. How exactly are you helping her? Mom straightened, performing for her audience. We've given her space to reflect on her choices. Sometimes tough love is necessary. Tough love, I repeated. That's an interesting way to describe it. Michael stepped forward. Sarah's been emotional about the situation. She doesn't understand that enabling Emily's failure would only hurt her more. Failure? Dr. Patterson looked confused. Because her husband cheated? The room went silent. Mom's face flushed. Who told you that? Does it matter? I asked. The question is, why would you punish Emily for escaping an unfaithful marriage? We don't air family laundry in public, Dad growled. But you'll publicly call her a disgrace? Pastor Williams shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps we should move on to the toast. Actually, I said, holding up my phone, I do have something to share. A family memory from 6 months ago. May I? Mom's eyes narrowed, but with 30 people watching, she couldn't refuse without looking suspicious. Of course, dear. I've prepared a short presentation about family values, I announced, moving toward the screen controls. Since that seems to be tonight's theme. Mom relaxed slightly, assuming I'd prepared some sentimental slideshow. Dad nodded approvingly. Michael smirked, probably thinking I was about to humiliate myself with some emotional plea for Emily. Before I start, I said, connecting my phone to the system, I want everyone to know that what you're about to see is real, unedited, time-stamped. Sarah, what are you doing? Mom's voice carried a warning. Showing everyone what Thompson family values really look like. My finger hovered over the play button. Around me, the cream of our city society waited. Dad's boss, Michael's colleagues, Mom's entire church board, cousins who'd shunned Emily on command. Michael started moving toward me. Sarah, don't be stupid. Stupid? I looked him in the eye. Like threatening to take custody of Emily's twins? Like the $50,000 you offered Melissa Smith to disappear? His face went white. His wife's head snapped toward him. What? Who's Melissa Smith? Nobody, Michael said quickly, but his voice cracked. He lunged for my phone. I stepped back, hitting play. Everyone, please watch the screen. The LED display flickered to life. The first image appeared. The exterior of my parents' house. Security timestamp glowing. October 15th, 11:47 p.m. That's our house, Aunt Martha said, confused. The video began to play. The storm was visible, rain lashing against the camera. Then movement. Emily approaching the front door, struggling with 2 infant carriers, her hair plastered to her head. Mom's gasp cut through the silence. Turn it off! But everyone was transfixed. On screen, the door opened. There were my parents, fully dressed despite the late hour, faces twisted with anger. The audio was muffled, but audible. Dad's voice. You're not welcome here. Emily's desperate response. Please, the babies are sick. The ballroom fell completely silent as the video continued. On the 90-inch screen, my father's hand reached out and physically pushed Emily backward. She stumbled, nearly dropping one of the carriers. The baby's cries were audible even through the storm. "Dad, please!" Emily's voice cracked through the speakers. "They have fevers. Just let us stay until morning." "You made your choice," Mom's voice cut in, sharp and cold. "Divorce is a sin. You're dead to us." Then the door slammed. The camera kept rolling, showing Emily standing in the downpour, shoulders shaking as she sobbed, trying to shield the carriers with her body. Pastor Williams dropped his champagne glass. It shattered on the marble floor, the sound explosive in the silence. "Robert, Margaret, this can't be!" "Turn it off!" Dad roared, but I switched to the next video, the neighbor's security footage, showing a wider angle. Emily stumbling to her car, struggling to secure the twins while rain pounded down. The timestamp showed she sat there for 20 minutes before driving away. "Those babies," Mrs. Patterson's voice was horrified. "You turned away sick infants?" Mom tried to salvage the situation. "You don't understand the full context." "What context justifies this?" Dr. Patterson, Dad's boss, stepped forward. His face was granite. "Those are your grandchildren." The next clip started, my own video from the Walmart parking lot. Emily in the back seat, both twins pressed against her, their little faces flushed with fever. My voice narrating. 3 hours after being turned away, both twins have temperatures over 103. Several guests had their phones out, recording the screen. Mom's church friends were backing away from her like she was contaminated. "There's more," I announced, cueing the audio recordings. "Would you like to hear what Michael threatened?" "No," Michael shouted, but it was too late. Michael's voice filled the ballroom, crystal clear through the speaker system. "I have connections at Child Protective Services. If you make this messy, if you embarrass us further, I'll make sure those twins end up in proper homes, stable homes." His wife gasped. "Michael, you didn't—" The recording continued. "You're an unemployed single mother living off savings. I'm a successful attorney with a perfect family record. Who do you think the court will believe?" James Harrison, senior partner at Michael's firm, stood rigid. His expression was murderous. "Thompson, that's extortion. Using CPS as a threat? We need to talk. Now." But I wasn't done. The next recording played, the call where they'd given me the ultimatum. Dad's voice boomed. "You have 48 hours to decide where your loyalty lies, Emily and those children, or your family." "That's blackmail," my recorded voice responded. "It's reality," Michael's voice replied. "Help Emily and lose everything." Then the crown jewel. Mom's voice, sanctimonious and cruel. "We're protecting the Thompson name, something you clearly don't value." The recording ended. The ballroom was tomb silent. 30 of the city's most influential people stared at my parents like they were strangers. Pastor Williams was the first to speak. "Margaret, you're on the church board. You lead the women's ministry. You preach about compassion and family values every Sunday." "This was a private family matter," Mom started. "That you made public by involving everyone here," Aunt Martha interrupted. "You called me that night, told me not to help Emily, said she was a disgrace." Other relatives began speaking up. "You called us too." "Threatened to cut us off. Said Emily was dead to the family." Dad's boss pulled out his phone. "Robert, I'm calling an emergency board meeting for Monday. Your judgment is clearly compromised." The dominoes were falling exactly as I'd planned. "Wait," I said, voice carrying across the chaos. "There's one more thing everyone needs to see, especially you, Mr. Harrison." Michael lunged for me again, but 2 of Dad's colleagues held him back. His perfectly styled hair was disheveled, his face red with rage and panic. The screen changed to a document, the sexual harassment complaint against Michael. Melissa Smith's name was redacted, but the details were damning. Then came the bank records, $50,000 transferred to an account, then mysteriously withdrawn when Melissa refused to sign the NDA. "What is this?" Michael's wife demanded, her voice shaking. The next slide was an email from Michael to the firm's HR director. Handle this quietly. The Thompson name carries weight in this city. I'd hate for that to change. Harrison's face went from red to purple. You threatened HR? The final piece was Melissa's recorded testimony that Jessica had obtained. Her voice was steady but pained. Michael Thompson cornered me at the office Christmas party. When I reported it, he said he'd destroy my career. He said, "Ask my sister Emily what happens to women who don't keep quiet." That was last year, before Emily even filed for divorce. The room erupted. Michael's wife slapped him so hard the sound echoed off the walls. "You monster! You knew what Emily was going through and you still—" "It's not what it looks like," Michael started. "It's exactly what it looks like," Harrison interrupted. "Security will be at your office Monday morning while you clean it out. You're done at Brennan and Associates, and I'll be personally calling every firm in the state." Pastor Williams turned to my parents. "Your membership at First Baptist is under review, effective immediately. We cannot have people who abandon children in positions of spiritual leadership." Mom sank into a chair, her perfect party, her perfect image, her perfect family, all of it crumbling in real time. I stood in the center of the room, 30 pairs of eyes on me. The family disappointment, the single failure, the one without power. Not anymore. "I have legal guardianship of Emily's twins," I announced, pulling out the court documents Jessica had filed. Emergency custody was granted based on documented abandonment and threats of custodial interference. Dad started to stand, but Dr. Patterson's hand on his shoulder pushed him back down. "Furthermore," I continued, "any attempt at workplace retaliation or housing discrimination will result in immediate legal action. My attorney has already filed protective documentation with the state." "You ungrateful," Mom started. "Ungrateful?" I turned to face her directly. "You taught me everything I know about family values. You just didn't realize you were teaching me what not to do." I addressed the room. "Emily and her daughters are safe. They have a home, medical care, and a family that actually loves them. That's all that matters." Michael finally spoke, his voice desperate. "You've destroyed everything. Our reputation, our family." "No," I said firmly. "You destroyed it the night you threatened innocent babies. I just showed everyone who you really are." Mrs. Harrison approached me. "If Emily needs anything, a job, childcare assistance, please call me." She handed me her card, then turned to glare at Michael. "I have a foundation that helps women escaping difficult situations." One by one, other guests approached with similar offers. Job opportunities for Emily, pediatrician referrals for the twins, free legal services. The community my parents had tried to weaponize was now rallying around their abandoned daughter. "This isn't over," Dad growled. "You're right," I agreed. "The criminal investigation into child endangerment and extortion is just beginning." The color drained from his face. He hadn't considered that abandoning sick infants in a storm could have legal consequences. This moment changed everything for our family. If you've ever had to stand up against toxic family members to protect the innocent, type strength in the comments below. Your courage matters more than you know. The story isn't over. The aftermath was even more powerful than the confrontation. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on to hear how this family transformed. Sometimes the best families are the ones we choose. The exodus began immediately. Pastor Williams was the first to leave, pausing only to address my parents. 30 years of friendship, and I never knew who you really were. The board will meet tomorrow. Don't expect good news. Dad's colleagues followed, each avoiding eye contact with him. Dr. Patterson stopped at the door. "Robert, clean out your office by Monday. We can't have someone with your judgment making defense contracts." Mom's church friends huddled in a corner, whispering furiously. I caught fragments. "Always acted so holy. Poor Emily. Those precious babies." Mrs. Smith, who ran the women's ministry with Mom, approached her. "Margaret, I'll need your resignation letter by tomorrow. We can't have someone who abandons children leading a ministry about family values. Michael's wife had moved across the room, her phone pressed to her ear. Yes, I need a divorce attorney. Tonight. I don't care what it costs. Michael heard her and tried to approach. Jennifer, please. Don't. She held up her hand. I'm taking the kids to my mother's. You'll hear from my lawyer. The restaurant manager appeared, looking uncomfortable. I'm sorry, but we need to close this event. Other guests are complaining about the disturbance. Dad threw cash on the table, far more than necessary, and stormed toward the exit. Mom followed, her designer heels clicking frantically. At the door, she turned back, mascara streaming down her face. Sarah, you've destroyed us. No, Mom, you destroyed yourselves. I just refuse to hide it anymore. As they left, Aunt Martha touched my arm. I'm ashamed I listened to them. Can I meet the twins, make things right with Emily? Others echoed her sentiment. In trying to isolate Emily, my parents had only isolated themselves. The community they'd manipulated was now Team Emily. Monday morning came fast. Jessica called me at 8 a.m., her voice triumphant. The restraining order was approved. Your parents and Michael cannot come within 500 feet of Emily or the twins. That was quick. The judge saw the videos. She was not pleased. She also ordered Michael to undergo evaluation for potential criminal charges related to custodial threat and extortion. Emily was sitting across from me, feeding Luna while Lily slept in her bouncer. For the first time in months, she looked peaceful. What about custody? Mark's parental rights were already terminated. The court confirmed you have sole custody, and with Sarah as emergency guardian on file, you're protected. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is James Harrison. Michael's office has been cleared. We found more complaints during our investigation. He won't practice law again. Also, my wife runs a tech startup. They're looking for a project manager. Is Emily interested? I showed Emily the message, her eyes filled with tears. They want to hire me? After everything? Not despite everything. Because of it. You survived. That takes strength. Another call came in. Jessica put it on speaker. Child Protective Services just closed their investigation. They're actually recommending charges against your parents for child endangerment. The DA's office is reviewing. The doorbell rang. It was a courier with a thick envelope. Inside, a letter from my parents' attorney. They were offering a settlement, $100,000 to Emily if we agreed not to pursue criminal charges. Emily looked at me. That's a lot of money. It's hush money, I said, just like Michael tried with Melissa. Jessica took the letter. I'll respond. We decline their offer and will cooperate fully with any criminal investigation. Emily nodded slowly. Good. Some things matter more than money. Back at the party's aftermath, I gathered my things while the remaining guests dispersed. The grand ballroom that had showcased my mother's pride now felt like a crime scene. Overturned champagne glasses, abandoned plates, the LED screens still frozen on Michael's harassment complaint. Several people approached me before leaving. Dr. Patterson's wife pressed a business card into my hand. My niece runs a nonprofit for single mothers. Please have Emily call. 3 of Mom's former church friends formed a protective circle around me. We had no idea, Mrs. Williams said. Your mother always spoke so highly of family values. We're organizing a supply drive for Emily and the twins. Even the restaurant staff seemed moved. The manager discreetly handed me a flash drive. Security footage of tonight, in case you need it for legal purposes. As I walked toward the exit, Michael appeared from the shadows. His perfect suit was disheveled, his eyes wild. You have no idea what you've done. I know exactly what I've done. I'll sue you for defamation, destruction of career, emotional distress. With what money? Jennifer's divorce lawyer will take everything. And good luck finding an attorney who'll represent you after tonight. He grabbed my arm. You little... Security! The manager appeared instantly with 2 guards. Sir, you need to leave, now. As they escorted Michael out, he shouted over his shoulder, This isn't over. You're right, I called back. The criminal investigation is just beginning. I walked to my car with my head high. Through the restaurant windows, I could see the empty ballroom, the abandoned birthday cake, the wilted centerpieces. Mom's perfect 60th birthday party had become the night the Thompson family empire fell. My phone lit up with a text from Emily. The twins are asking for their Aunt Sarah. Hurry home. Home. Not my parents' house, not the family I was born into, but the family I chose. 1 month later, the Thompson family name meant something entirely different in our city. Dad's forced retirement from the defense contractor made the business section. Michael's disbarment hit the legal journals. Mom's removal from 3 charity boards was whispered about at every social gathering. But in my small apartment, life bloomed. Emily had started her new job at Harrison's wife's tech startup, working remotely so she could be with the twins. She'd even received a signing bonus that covered 3 months of expenses. Michael's wife called today, Emily told me over dinner. Jennifer. She wanted to apologize for never speaking up when she suspected something was wrong. What did you say? That I understood. It's hard to fight the Thompson machine. Was hard. The twins were thriving. No more fevers, no more nights in cars. Lily had started laughing, a beautiful, bubbly sound that filled our home. Luna was crawling everywhere, exploring her safe new world. My phone rang. Jessica. Update. Michael's been arrested. 3 more women came forward after the party. He's looking at actual jail time. And my parents? The DA is pursuing misdemeanor child endangerment charges. They'll likely get probation and mandatory counseling, but the real punishment is social exile. She was right. Mom's Facebook, once full of bragging posts, had been deleted. Dad's golf club had quietly suggested he resign. Their church had formally removed them from membership. Oh, and Sarah, Jessica added, that startup you work for? Their CEO called me, said anyone who stands up like you did is exactly who they want. You're getting promoted to senior developer. Huge raise. I looked at Emily bouncing Luna while Lily giggled in her high chair. We'd lost the family we were born into but found something better. A family built on love, not control. On support, not status. 6 weeks after the party, a letter arrived through Mom's attorney. The handwriting was hers, shaky but recognizable. Sarah and Emily, I read aloud. We've been attending court-mandated counseling. Our therapist says we need to acknowledge the harm we caused. We're sorry for the pain. We'd like to discuss family reconciliation, perhaps start with supervised visits with the twins? Emily took the letter, read it twice. She doesn't even call them by their names, just the twins. The next day, Dad sent his own message through the lawyer. I realize I let pride cloud my judgment. Military thinking doesn't work in families. I want to make amends. I'm willing to attend family therapy. What do you think? Emily asked. I think apologies without change are just manipulation. As if to prove my point, Michael tried reaching out that same week. From jail, awaiting trial, he sent a letter. You've made your point. The family is destroyed. Happy? Now help me with bail. Blood is blood. Jessica laughed when I showed her. He still doesn't get it. He thinks this is about winning, not about protecting Emily and the babies. We crafted a formal response to all 3. Any future contact must go through legal channels. Reconciliation requires 1. Completion of all court-mandated therapy. 2. Written acknowledgement of specific harmful actions. 3. A demonstrated pattern of behavioral change over no less than 1 year. 4. Respect for the boundaries we establish. Mom's attorney called Jessica the next day. They want to negotiate the terms. There's no negotiation, Jessica replied. These are the minimum requirements for even considering contact. They can accept them or not. The attorney sighed. They said you'd say that. They also said to tell you they're struggling, financially, socially, emotionally. Consequences tend to be uncomfortable, Jessica responded. That's rather the point. 3 months after the birthday party, our apartment had transformed into a real home. Emily had saved enough for us to move to a 3-bedroom townhouse. The twins each had their own room, painted in soft pastels with clouds on the ceiling. Sunday mornings became our new tradition. Instead of tense family dinners at my parents' house, we had pancake breakfasts with chosen family. Aunt Martha came every week, bringing homemade baby food and endless apologies for not standing up sooner. "Family isn't blood," she said one morning, watching Luna take her first steps. "It's who shows up when life gets hard." Mrs. Harrison, who insisted we call her Beth, became an honorary grandmother. She'd arrive with designer baby clothes and business advice for Emily. "You're thriving," she told her. "That promotion already? You've earned it." Emily had indeed been promoted. Her strength through adversity impressed everyone. She was leading a team now, working on projects that mattered. The broken woman who'd sat in a Walmart parking lot was gone, replaced by someone powerful and confident. Even unexpected allies emerged. Jennifer, Michael's soon-to-be ex-wife, joined our support circle. "I should have seen the signs," she said during one visit. "The way he talked about Emily, about women who didn't know their place. I'm sorry I stayed silent." "You're not silent now," Emily replied, hugging her. The twins were flourishing. Lily was walking, chasing Luna around our small backyard. Their laughter filled spaces that had once held fear and rejection. They'd never remember that terrible night in the storm, but they'd grow up knowing they were worth fighting for. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Saw your parents at the grocery store. They looked diminished. Your mom was buying generic brands. Your dad was alone in the parking lot, just sitting in his car." I felt a flicker of something. Not quite sympathy, but acknowledgement of their fall. 6 months after that birthday party, I stood in our backyard watching Emily push the twins on their new swing set. The transformation was complete, not just for them, but for me. Being the family disappointment had freed me in ways I never expected. When you're already considered a failure, you've got nothing to lose by doing what's right. My parents had seen my single status and modest career as weaknesses. They never realized those failures meant I had nothing they could effectively threaten. The promotion at work came with speaking opportunities. Companies wanted to hear about ethical leadership in crisis from someone who'd lived it. I always started the same way. Documentation isn't just about covering yourself, it's about protecting the vulnerable. Every recording, every video, every saved text had been a brick in the wall protecting Emily and the twins. Young women in these audiences would approach me afterward. "I'm documenting my situation too. Thank you for showing me it matters." Jessica and I had started a workshop series, setting boundaries with toxic family systems. The first session had 12 attendees. The latest one had over 100. The hunger for these tools was overwhelming. "You know what the ironic part is?" Emily said one evening. "Mom and Dad raised us to be strong. They just never imagined we'd use that strength against their cruelty." She was right. Every lesson about family honor had taught me to protect family, just not the way they'd intended. Protecting family meant stopping abuse, not enabling it. It meant choosing love over blood, safety over reputation. The twins' first birthday was next week. We'd rented a park pavilion, invited our chosen family. No Thompsons on the guest list except Emily and me, and that was exactly right. Sometimes losing your family of origin is the only way to find your true family. 1 year later, Emily remarried. Not to someone our parents would have chosen. David was a social worker, made modest money, had tattoos and a motorcycle. But he loved her fiercely and treated the twins like his own daughters. He'd even legally adopted them. The wedding was small, perfect. 20 people who'd stood by us when the Thompson name became toxic. Aunt Martha walked Emily down the aisle. I was her maid of honor. The twins, now walking confidently, were flower girls in tiny lavender dresses. During the reception, Jessica pulled me aside. "Your parents' attorney reached out again. They've completed therapy, want to attempt reconciliation." "What do you think?" I asked. "I think people can change, but trust has to be earned, not demanded." "We'd consider it. Maybe. Someday. But not today." Today was about celebrating the family we'd built from the ashes of the one that burned us. David's speech at the reception destroyed me. They say you can't choose family, but Sarah chose to protect Emily and the girls when blood relatives wouldn't. That's real family. As I watched Emily dance with her new husband, the twins giggling as David spun them around, I realized something profound. We hadn't lost anything that mattered. We'd gained everything that did. My phone had one unread message from an unknown number. Saw your story online. Gave me courage to leave my toxic family. Thank you. That's why I share this story. Not for revenge or sympathy, but for you, the one reading this who's trapped between toxic loyalty and self-preservation. Choose yourself. Choose the vulnerable who need protection. Choose truth over reputation. If you've ever had to set boundaries with family members who confused control with love, you're not alone. Share your story in the comments. We're stronger together than we ever were apart. Thank you for listening to our story. If it helped you realize you're not alone in setting boundaries with toxic family, please share this video. Comment boundaries if you've made similar tough choices. Subscribe for more stories about protecting yourself and loved ones from family abuse disguised as love. Remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. And sometimes, the family you choose is infinitely better than the family you're born into.